Good Monday morning as your radio dial is set to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. Patrick Wooten and Michael Traylor with you on your radio dial on this Monday, May the 19th, as the fifth month of the year continues to race by. And as we are a week away from Memorial Day and beach trips galore and all the kids out of school, so just a big time. Felt like summer this morning, as it must have been about 150% humidity outside for sure. But appreciate Michael being here, who is a workers' comp extraordinaire attorney.
That's right.
Just finished your term. You know, you're past president now. You're no longer current president of the workers' comp
Educational Association.
That's right. So you survived that 2-year term.
You know, technically, I've got about a month and a half left, but thankfully we don't have a whole lot going on during that month and a half. So, yeah, you're right. 2-year term. It learned a lot. It was a good, I think, couple of conferences that we were able to put on during that time. So it was well. Well,
good. Well, we appreciate it. Well, and we'd love for you to join the show. As always, you can reach us on the SuperTalk call line at 888-808-8637, or you can text us on the C Spire text line 601-879-4395. Gonna start with this. I saw a story that lists the 4 most popular soft drinks in America. So we're gonna see how you do on this, and then we're gonna have a tangent that we get out. So what do you think in order are the 4 most popular soft drinks?
Soft drinks. So number one's got to be Coca-Cola.
Coke, hands down. Not even close. Coke is number 1.
Whew, number 2. Now we're getting tricky. Dr. Pepper.
Very good.
Is that right?
Impressive. Dr. Pepper is number 2.
All right. Number 3. Soda. Soft drink. Sprite.
3. You got it.
Oh.
And then number 4.
Wow. Number 4. I don't know. Where are we on that loose?
Mountain Dew.
Nope, not Mountain Dew.
Root beer.
It's Pepsi.
No.
Pepsi is number 4, so Sprite just edges out Pepsi. Dr. Pepper's the one that has kind of just taken off. I mean, my daughters love Dr. Pepper. Yeah. I mean, just love it. It's one of their favorite things to drink. And I'll probably drink maybe 2 a year.
Yeah, I'm not a big soft drink guy. I used to be, but mostly drink water now. But I remember growing up, and you maybe remember this too. We used to have Coca-Cola and Pepsi tasting challenges.
Oh, yeah. The Pepsi Challenge.
At Kmart or wherever you might have gone back then.
Yeah, you had the Pepsi Challenge. Blind taste test you which one it is. Hands down. But what I was going to say is, so that's interesting. So you're 4. Coke, Dr. Pepper, Sprite, Pepsi. I didn't go beyond that when I saw the story. But is there a off-the-beaten-path kind of soft drink that you like?
Yeah, the original Coke. Yeah,
No,
I'm kidding. I'm playing.
Yeah, Lance, I look at you as a new Coke guy is what I see you.
I love the Coke Zero, but I mean the obscure stuff,
Cheerwine.
Yeah,
I'm a Cheerwine
fan. Cheerwine's pretty good.
Love Cheerwine.
I was absolutely about to say that. The Cheerwine in the little reddish colored can. Oh, man, that stuff's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a North Kid. You're looking at me. You have
no idea.
And then ginger beer, which has no beer in it. It's like the Barber.
Correct.
I think it's Barber's who makes it.
Yep.
But it's in like a yellow can. That stuff's delicious. It's a great offset to ginger ale.
Yeah.
Which, if you like ginger ale, it's good stuff.
But Cheerwine has no wine in it. No. It is a North Carolina soft drink. And, of course, me going to college up in the state of North Carolina, I've been very familiar with this drink since the late 80s. It's kind of like a cherry Coke. Yep. It does have has a reddish hue to it, so it's like
you've got to have the pellet ice for it.
You have to pellet ice.
You have to have pellet ice.
And you can buy it here at the local grocery store in the glass bottle.
Yep.
See, every soft drink tastes better in a glass bottle.
And would you consider Topo Chico a soft drink?
See, I don't like Topo Chico. Yeah. Like my thing, I love orange Fanta. Mm-hmm. I will drink an orange Fanta. Mm-hmm. Love an orange Fanta.
I grew up on that in knee high.
Yep.
And my mama, she'd have one of every one. You'd have the strawberry, the grape, the this and that, and you go in there. And Fanta was the brand of choice.
Yep.
Then knee-high was the other one.
Yeah. I remember as a kid drinking RC Cola. A good RC Cola is good.
What about Tab?
Tab. My mom drank Tab. The pink can. I remember there was a pink can. I remember my mom drinking Tab in the in the 80s.
Yeah. I had a lady that back in the day when I was in fundraising, she was on the board of the department that I worked for at Ole Miss, and before every board meeting, you had to go get a 6-pack of Tab. And she would take one and drink it and then take the 5 to the house. Yeah, so that was kind of all right, so-and-so's coming in. All right, make sure you have the Tab.
I love it. Well, people are chiming in, and I love it on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Kind of tell us maybe your off-the-wall, soft drink that maybe we don't know about. So you've gotten a couple in here for sure. Sundrop. I do remember. So it's been a long time.
Squirt was good.
Yep. So Sundrop's on there. Big Red. I don't know what Big Red is.
Isn't that the one that came from Walmart originally? Wasn't that? I'm trying to remember the brand. I thought it might have been the Big Red Coke version of.
Okay.
I thought I might be wrong there.
I mean, Mike from Madison, I joke, says, I prefer the 1910 version of Coke.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. Yeah, that's the original, the obscure Coke, the one that they,
that's right.
It's funny because the Coke Zero commercial says, has there ever been a better Coke? I'm like, I think there was.
That's right, exactly.
Is that a real question?
Yeah. I do laugh. You got this one, and I will buy these at the grocery store, too. It says, I love the Coke with the real cane sugar. Those are which they now call Mexican Coke. Mexican I mean, Coke. They call them, Mexican Coke. Someone said the peach chill with vodka back in the day. Why does that have to be back in the now?
That sounds good now.
Yeah, the current day.
I might have to go buy me a pack of knee-highs and get some vodka or something and try that. Now that we're starting talking about mixing.
I used to drink like soft drink back in the day, but I remember this, and I don't know how accurate this is, but my economics teacher in high school, he said that he worked at a bottling company. I think it was a Coke bottling company when he was younger. And he was like, did you know that sometimes bugs and stuff can get in those bottles before they spray the Coke in there? Like, no. And he's like, and you know what they do? They just spray it in there. And the acidity kills everything off. You'd never know it's there. I was like, I'm done.
You're out.
I've heard that you can that crime scenes use the Coke syrup to remove blood from sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and if you've ever seen somebody clean the battery of your car off with one.
That's right, yes. I forgot about that trick.
I mean, that's the thing, though. If you're able to drink it and survive, you basically are going to live forever is how I feel about that. So
probably walk in space without the suit
Exactly,
on.
That's right. I go scuba diving. I guess I can just forget the tanks from now on. I can probably just breathe underwater without that stuff. So, but, I mean, people love this one. I do laugh. We get the one healthy person, so shout out to you. They didn't give their name. But they're from North. No, Body Armor Flash IV beats any soda. I've never been a person to drink any of those kind of drinks and so forth, but no.
I'm scared of them all.
Yeah.
All the energy and electrolyte heavy stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I wish Gatorade would come out with like a pop, though. A version of it that's fizzy.
I did actually see here from a golf course a new drink. If you go somewhere where they have, a beverage cart that comes by called the Water Hazard, which sounds amazing, which is actually blue Gatorade, a mini bottle of vodka is what they used in this one, a splash of Sprite, and a splash of lemonade. That sounds really good.
Sounds great on a golf course.
It does.
After about the third hole, you don't even care
exactly
what's going on out there.
Yep. But, hey, I mean, these are all Big Red cream soda.
I like a cream soda. The IBC? That was always one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yep. Cock and Bull ginger beer.
Had that many times. It's a little more potent than the Barbers.
And then Jarritos.
Barrett's. It's Barrett's. That's what I'm talking about.
And then Jarritos grapefruit soda.
Jarritos, all of them are great.
Yeah.
The time I lived in Mexico, I mean, you could. Every color under the rainbow. You just go grab one. You didn't even care what flavor it was because they're all delicious. It's like drinking sugar water straight off a snow cone.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting one, which is going to get us down a rabbit trail because it says, remember Sierra Mist.
Oh, yeah.
So let's now tell the story of what, do you know this?
No.
What happened to Sierra Mist? So Sierra Mist, I think, was a Pepsi product, which was kind of their take on Sprite. Well, there was a young woman on social media who went by the name Sierra Mist with a C instead of an S. So she kept getting cease and desist letters from and ignored them. Well, guess what? Pepsi let the trademark expire on Sierra Mist, and she went and grabbed it.
Wow.
So she went and grabbed it. and was able to fight off Pepsi for the name Sierra Mist, and ultimately Sierra Mist is now Starry. It's the same soft drink, but it's called Starry because they failed to protect their trademark on the name Sierra Mist and lost it.
Wow, somebody forgot to check their calendar on the trademark renewal.
Exactly. Yeah, and I get it because her content was not the most family friendly, and so they were like, it was crazy. But I mean, it's kind of the whole David and Goliath that she took down PepsiCo and won the trademark case, which is amazing.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah, which is wild. But yeah, folks are rolling in with their favorite soft drinks. Feel free to text us on the C Spire text line 601-879-4395, and we'll be right back. 3-7 Patrick Wooten and Michael Traylor. A few texts that rolled in during the break was Jeff in Carrollton saying, any listeners out there remember the double colas? You lost me.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah, lost me there. Then, of course, we've got saying Coke will take oil spots off your driveway.
If it'll remove blood, it's going to get the oil.
That's right.
Right.
Yep. And then you've got Bobby chimed in going, we used to put peanuts in our Coke. I do remember people doing that.
Put some goobers in there.
Yeah. How about second? This is Thomas in Greenwood. How about the second sparkling water drinks? Taste like TV static. Boy, that's. I don't think. Hopefully, that wasn't their tagline. Taste like TV static.
That's very descriptive. I'm already thinking about it now.
Yeah, that's funny.
You like get a shock when you drink it.
Apparently, that's right. You know, another one timed in talking about how his mom just absolutely loved Tab, and then I did figure someone's going to chime in with this Biloxi's own Barks root beer. Barks root beer, which which I think is awesome. And then I do feel this one, Louis, a history of kidney stones has forced me to abandon soft drinks. Barks root beer was my favorite, so it's nothing but water and green tea for me today. Now, what I find interesting, Louis, is I've had one kidney stone in my life, and I pray I never have another one, and it's been 15 years since I had it. But mine was because of all the iced tea I drink. That's what it was based on. The one after you found it was all based on tea. Well,
we've done knee high. That's a very good. Moxie is one that people may remember from the day since 1884.
I do like a grape Fantas, and we talked about orange, but grape Fanta is good too.
Favorite,
yeah, grape's a good one.
I always liked the squirt, though. I mean, that was a great. Back when I was down in Mexico, you would always take, like, you go to a bar in Mexico, and you would buy a huge, 6-pack of squirt, and then it would, they'd have brandy and other. You mix it at the, at your actual table. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Then we did get here, speaking of Sierra Mist, which is now known as Starry, mix in Crown Royal. It ain't that bad. So
you got mug root beer also.
Oh, what about that? The original Frost Top on Hardy Street, which is now the Ward, which Ward's makes amazing root beer. Their root beer is so good. That is excellent. Oh, what about the says, here's Joe. I remember the Shasta root beer commercials. Folks would open a can, then pour it into a glass mug where it would foam to the top. Then they'd blow the foam into whoever was standing near. So, don't remember that one.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I do chuckle. The last one is no bigger gamble than a fountain drink Sprite. I guess, are you going to have any? Is it flat? Is it, got bite to it and so forth? You never know. Well,
does anybody remember Crystal Pepsi?
I do. It was clear. It was clear. Yeah. Yep, I do remember.
Like early 90s.
Yep. That is hilarious. So, but, well, keep them coming. We'd love for you to continue to share. We are going to talk a few things legal, as this is the Schwartz and Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. So, thought we would talk about road rage because a survey came out in Travel and Leisure magazine that says the 5 worst states for road rage. Here's the good news. Mississippi is not on that list.
Oh, wow. One thing we didn't make it to the top on the bad list.
But 2 of our neighboring states are. So the worst state for road rage, Louisiana.
I believe it.
So, so we're going to get back and talk about what happens to you if you actually are a victim of road rage. So Louisiana, here's the worst 5. Louisiana, New Mexico, Colorado, Arkansas, and then Montana. So those are the 5 worst states for road rage.
In Montana, do they even see anybody up there?
Apparently, they get mad if they see somebody. Is what happened.
You want all this nice pastoral land, and mountains, and elk everywhere, and then somebody shows up in a car that just makes you mad.
That's right. Has out-of-state tag, and they're just not happy, apparently. In
those dang tourists.
That's right. Get them out of here. But so what would happen? You are a victim of road rage. You're just tooling down. You're headed to Louisiana, so you're tooling down 55, in a road rage incident happens where someone intentionally, because they think you cut them off or you're driving too slow in the left lane, is their insurance coverage going to apply if they intentionally hit you? What would you say?
Well, now car wreck cases, not necessarily my expertise, but if I'm looking at how you treat that under a workers' comp claim, if it's an intentional act, it was not an accident, quote unquote. So a lot of times if there's an intentional act, there's no coverage there.
That's exactly right. So if it's intentional, and we get this all the time where someone will call us and it's like, hey, my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend intentionally ran her car into me, as the new girlfriend is calls we've got at the firm, there's no auto coverage. If it's an intentional act with a motor vehicle, it is going to void the automobile coverage, and therefore it would trigger it into an uninsured motorist claim if you have uninsured motorists. So that's why, as we talk on this show, it is so important to carry uninsured motorist coverage.
Have we seen, and do you guys see more of the road rage in the last 5, 6, 7 years than you ever did? And I guess if you have, would you attribute it to all the cool people that love to be on their phone and drive in the left lane 10 miles below the speed limit, and then when you pass them, they look at you like you're crazy? You're passing them on the right side. So are we seeing more of the road rage as a result of just people not really obeying traffic, or is it, just mad?
In my experience, I've been 31 years this month. It's actually 31 years tomorrow that I graduated law school, which is hard to believe. But, I can remember when I started at Schwartz 25 years ago, there was nothing such thing as road rage. That never happened. But, we see it now, but it's funny. It's like the jilted ex-lover call. That's what we're getting, is the ex-girlfriend intentionally ran over me, or it's actually a boyfriend and a girlfriend getting a fight, and he's like, he intentionally backed into my car when I was trying to get out of the driveway. I've not seen it, hey, they ran me off the road because I was going too slow in the left lane. Now, all the ones we see are it's literally the jilted lover. The jilted lover.
The toxic relationship that probably should have ended, but it just continued.
Yep. But the thing is, they'll call and say, well, he intentionally did it. You get the accident report, and it doesn't say that, because it's the challenge. Was it intentional, or was he mad and just not paying attention? Is he's trying to back out of the driveway quickly, or she's trying to back out? Now, the difference ones are, we're in the driveway, and she sits there and cut across the yard and T-boned the car, is clearly an intentional act. So
I have in a kind of related, tangent, I'll watch a lot of stuff on YouTube and on X specifically, but Steve Inman does a lot where you see people trying to carjack somebody, or they'll come up with a gun, and they're in a car. And some of the folks that are driving that are potentially getting carjacked basically just run over everything.
Yep.
What is the legal ramification for that if you are in danger and yet you have to use your vehicle to plow through or whatever? Who's liable for what there?
Well, that's an interesting scenario. More likely than not, the criminal's not going to call the police to be like, hey, I was trying to carjack Lance and he ran me over and now I've got a broken leg. So more likely than not, you're not going to have any record of the accident being there. Now, you're going to have damage to your car. So calling your insurance company to say, hey, I've got this damage because I was stopped at a red light and this car came up to me and they were trying to carjack me, so I took off and hit. Yeah, you could potentially file, on your own collision or comprehensive coverage that you have out there. But it would be an interesting mix to listen to one of those phone calls with an insurance company for sure.
One of the things Lance was talking about earlier about, what's the root of the increase in these road rage incidents. I think a lot of that's due to some people just don't know driver's etiquette anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's what I see a lot. I get upset because they're going, hey, man, this person doesn't know how to drive.
Yeah, just think about, these days just merging onto the interstate can be a challenge. It's almost like people are like, no, you can't get on my interstate. I'm like, this is exactly what if you can slow down or speed up, just let me in. Or even if you're coming to, sometimes you'll see those signs where they're doing road work and 2 lanes is merging into one, and the sign will specifically say, stay in this lane until you have to merge, and everybody's in the other lane already, and they see you coming by following instructions, and then they don't want to let you in.
Oh, correct, because they're like, you're just trying to avoid the traffic jam in the right lane or left lane. Exactly.
So, that's probably a big cause. We just need, updated driver's exams every 5 years or something like that? Or?
Well, they don't even have to take a driving test. Yeah. I mean, here of a dad who has a daughter who got a license in January, and she's a very, knock on wood, very good driver. They don't ever take actually get in a car with somebody to prove they can do it. So it is pretty crazy that you don't have to take a road test to get your license in Mississippi. Well, you're listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour, and we'll be right back to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. Patrick Wooten and Michael Traylor on Monday, May the 19th. We appreciate all the texts that have rolled in as we've talked about soft drinks. We talked about road rage. Mike did chime in, said Interstate 12 between Hammond and Baton Rouge justifies Louisiana being the worst state in the country for road rage.
Well, we have Bob. He called. He had a comment regarding these road raging issues or things of that nature. Bob, you on?
Hey, good morning, Bob.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing, guys?
Doing well.
Hey, look, I just want to know, do you remember after the baseball games, we used to go down and get some ice cream with root beer and different flavored soft drinks poured on top of the ice cream, and those were some good old days.
Oh, man, a root beer float, to this day, is still one of the best summer treats out there.
Yeah, and it was great after the game. Hey, guys, I had to shout out a quick congrats to Ole Miss softball and Alabama softball, the girls. They did a wonderful job this weekend, and they won their regionals, and now they're in the super regional, and it ought to be pretty good this next week coming up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was exciting. And, heck, Texas A&M, the number 1 team, goes down. I mean, it was a wild regional weekend in softball. And here will be a shout-out. A dad of a daughter who plays high school softball, it is one of the most fun sports to watch in person or even on TV. So if you've never taken the time to watch it, I would encourage you to find it and watch it in this upcoming week. It is amazing.
And the way, I'll say this, I living in Oxford forever, I'd go over and sneak over to the softball stadium just to see what real baseball players look like. When you hit those balls that fast, that distance, and they're making plays.
Yeah.
I mean, like the guy, Ole Miss should go over there and take some ground balls with the ladies because it's amazing to watch how quickly they do everything. It's so fast.
Bases are 60 feet apart, so you have to do everything at hyperspeed. But go ahead, Bob. Keep going.
Hey, guys, this is a question to both of y'all because it kind of pertains to both areas, workman's comp and your area. And we were all on the same page this morning without talking to each other. Do criminal acts committed and whether it be road rage, whatever the situation, fights, whatever, any kind of violence, does it void insurance coverage when you're talking about victims, injuries, people getting injured, property damage, and damage to businesses? And I'll give you a quick example. Coworkers might get into a fight at work and or might cause the other employee to be injured on the job. Does that void workman's comp coverage in any way? Does that affect it? And the criminal acts, like I said, does that void insurance coverage? And do you have a problem with the insurance companies when seeking coverage when y'all are trying to get justice or benefits for people.
Yeah, great question. Yeah. I'll let Michael handle the workers' comp side.
Yeah, good question, Bob. And just, I'll give you an example because you mentioned a couple of things, and let's just talk about a fight that occurs at work. Let's just say you're the employee, you're at work, and a customer comes in and, assaults you from no fault of your own. Well, in that situation, even though, that's not something that would be expected to happen at work, but you as the employee have done nothing wrong, you're where you're supposed to be, you're in the course and scope of your employment, and you're assaulted. So in that situation, you would still be eligible for workers' comp coverage. Now, let's look at one of the other things you mentioned, coworkers fighting. All right. Now, there's case law on this, and it can go back and forth depending on the situation. But if you've got two coworkers fighting, and let's say that fight has nothing to do with the employment, has something to do with something outside of work, these guys have a personal relationship, maybe who knows what's going on, but they bring it into the workplace. Most of the time, there's not going to be work coverage for injuries in that situation, just because it is not something that maybe while it happened at work, was it in the scope of the work? Mm-hmm. So it gets real technical there. But let's say that you're at work and the fight breaks out because it's work related. Sometimes we get a little frustrated with each other, whatever's going on. In that situation, if it is part of the job and the work duties somehow contributed to that fight occurring, then yes, it could potentially be covered. So it's really fact intense when it comes to a situation like that, but it's a great question.
Yeah, and then from a car wreck side of the house, Bob, I'm sitting at a red light. A car is trying to evade the police, runs into the back of me. Yeah, there's going to be no liability coverage on that car that's trying to avoid the police. So at most, I would have an uninsured motorist claim that is out there. The only time a criminal act may not void liability coverage, and it's much more difficult in Mississippi because of a change in case law a few years ago called the Landowners Protection Act, is if a criminal act happened at a business and that business knew that they were prone to criminal acts, you could potentially pursue a claim against that business through their liability policy for inadequate security, or did they have inadequate lighting. Those cases used to be much, much easier, and about 3 years ago the law changed.
This call will be recorded.
But potentially you could file a claim against that business under their liability policy where the criminal act would not void it out. But great questions as always, Bob. We appreciate you and hope you have a wonderful Monday.
So I think, Bob, if I understood right, though, was root beer was probably number one for him.
I think so.
Yeah, so.
And I hadn't had a root beer float, but I'm going to have a root beer float this summer because the Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be hot and dry in the southeast this summer. So at some point I may have to break down and buy some root beer and a good old Bluebell vanilla ice cream and just have at it, which would be great. So workers' comp, what's happening in the world of workers' comp in Mississippi?
Not a whole lot going on lately, at least that I know of. No changes are coming down the pipeline that I'm aware of. I think legislative session probably we're past that for now. So, the only thing really of any major news is the commission did recently move. The workers' comp commission's on Lakeland Drive, and the building itself's going under some renovations. I think they're trying to change the HVAC system, maybe do some remodeling as well. So they've moved downtown for the time being. So that's really the only thing that's going on right now that I can think of. But, everything's going there. We're still got workers' comp in place. That's a good thing. It helps employers to make it to where they've got that coverage in place. They've got a little bit of protection from being sued outside of that arena. And, of course, for the workers, they've still got it in place to where if you get injured on the job, hopefully you can get the treatment and the benefits you need quickly. So.
And what's the standard? How many employees does a business have to have that they're required to carry comp coverage in Mississippi?
Yeah, law says 5 or more employees. You're required to have it in Mississippi at least. And, of course, that can be a little bit tricky, maybe if you've got some seasonal workers and things like that to where you're not always carrying that many people. But, that covers a great number of employers in the state and probably makes sense, I imagine maybe if you're a smaller outfit, maybe it's a little bit more difficult or cost prohibitive to obtain that coverage, and so I think they take that into consideration for that. But 5 or more, is it, generally speaking, supposed to have it.
Is it full-time employees, a mix of full-time and part-time? So is it just anyone who happens to be getting a W-2 from that employer?
Yeah, and again, that it can be tricky, because I've had some cases in the past, especially when I was on the insurance defense side, where you're trying to figure out were they required to have it. Because they didn't have maybe full-time employees, or part of the year they only had 3 people. In the back half of the year, maybe they had 7 people, and so the answer probably be it depends on the situation, yeah. And I mean, even sometimes, I've seen some maybe some people trying to skirt around it a little bit, which is, of course you shouldn't be doing, but they'll have multiple companies. Names at least on paper, and technically speaking, they probably do have more than 5 employees, but on the books, they've only got 3 here, 4 there, 5 there. So, that's rare.
Gotcha.
I've seen it happen.
Okay, and then tell our listeners, why, if someone's hurt on the job, why do they need to hire Schwartz and Associates?
Well, so it is workers' comp is a very unique area of the law. It's simplistic, but it's also very technical. Lots of rules, lots of procedures, and what I think you will find is a lot of times, a lot of these insurance companies have adjusters who are handling claims in 5, 10. Maybe more states, and those laws change from state to state. So sometimes even the claims adjusters maybe don't know all the nuances of the law. And I find a lot of times that people, when they get hurt, they find that out quickly.
Yep.
They're not getting the benefits like they're supposed to be. They're not getting them timely. So it helps to start on the front end, giving us a call. Let us answer any questions, see if we can help you out.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that, Michael. You are listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. We've powered through 3 segments. We've got the 4th and final segment coming up after these messages, and we'll be right back. Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. A cornucopia of music that Lance has chosen this morning, and here we are to the 4th and final segment. So it's gonna go quick. So, couple things: high school, college graduations are now, I think, complete. So, if Michael Traylor got asked to be a graduation speaker, what would be the one piece of advice you would give to graduates?
Wow. Man, you're putting me on the spot here. One piece of advice from did you say high school or college?
We'll do college. We'll do college. You're getting asked to speak to your college alma mater.
Well, be like, I don't know. One piece of advice that young, just don't worry if you don't have it figured out.
Yeah.
I think that'd be it.
That's good.
I was coming up. I remember when I was leaving high school, I was like, talked to a lot of my friends. They already had college lined up. They're talking about they're going to be this and that. I'm like, I don't have a clue what I want to do.
Yeah.
How do you have all this figured out at 18 years old? And, and the reality is they probably didn't.
Yeah.
Did a good job of acting like it. So that's why by college, maybe you've got a little bit more insight, but, you're still so young.
Yep.
So don't stress it so much.
Mine would be take the path less traveled. I mean, that's the key. I think in life, take the path less traveled. I mean, you're going to hear work hard, which you need to work hard, but, don't just do what everyone else does. Yeah. Take the path less traveled.
I think that's a poem I had to memorize.
Robert Frost.
Yeah.
Two paths diverged in the woods, and I took the one less traveled, and it's made all the difference.
That's right.
Love that poem. But, I think it is. There's you look back in life, and it's like at time when I was single, it's like I wish I would have taken that advantage of traveling here more, traveling there more. So it's people you hear stories of, they traveled by themselves, and they just went and, do it. Take advantage of opportunities, because ultimately if you get married and you have kids and so forth, it impacts what you can do. Like this summer, my wife's our older college daughter's studying in Europe. My wife's going to go over there at the back end. Well, I can't, because our high school daughter's going to be in the middle of high school softball practice, and the season starts and so forth. So it's like take advantage of the ability to take the path less traveled.
Do it while you can, because time just speeds up.
Exactly.
Once you get into that age.
You're not promised tomorrow. That's another thing. You're never promised tomorrow, so don't put off to tomorrow to what you could do today. for sure. All right, so pivot real quick. Found this this morning. The most popular names for babies, for girls and boys, I guess for last year. Number 1, Olivia. Number 2, Emma. Up to number 3 is Amelia. Down to number 4 was Charlotte. A big mover, Mia, went to 5. Sophia, 6. Isabella, 7. Evelyn, which is interesting because I have a daughter named Evelyn who was born in the early 2000s when it didn't even register like in the top 20, is 8. Ava is 9, and Sophia is 10. I mean, that's, interesting as you go. Of course, my other daughter isn't anywhere on that list at all. And then the boys' names. Like Liam is number 1.
Liam.
I don't know a single Liam.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, Lucian Smith's son, Liam.
I mean, I know Liam.
And then you got Liam Neeson.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So Liam is number 1. Noah's number 2. Oliver 3. Theodore 4. James 5. Henry 6. Mateo 7.
That's my middle name, Mateo.
Yep. Elijah 8. Lucas 9. And William is 10.
This is the most popular name list?
These are the most popular name lists. I don't see a Patrick on there or a Michael on there.
I'm a William.
You're a William, yeah. So, but, it's interesting just as you look trends, because the girls one, they have a very lovely color-coded graph here. If you look, this is from AP News, if you want to go look at it. Like some of those names on there weren't even on the list, and then some fell off. Like in 22 and 23, the name Luna was the number 10 girl's name. Well, it's not even in the top 10 anymore. It had a 2-year run and then just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, sounds like a movie name. I think maybe around that time was Luna.
So it's interesting just how names go. Like, for example, my name is not a family name at all. Like, there's no family connection with my first or middle name to my family. My parents just liked it and gave it,
what my parents did is they gave me names and then decided to call me by my middle name. And all
Me
through,
too.
You deal with the same problem?
I'm William Lance, and I go by Lance.
I had to correct my teachers every year. I felt so bad about it.
Because they would say William.
Yeah, or, first name or whatever it is. And James for me. I'm like, I'm not James.
Yeah.
I'm Michael.
Yeah, James Michael Traylor. That's right. So but then our daughters, I laugh, have their middle name has got connections to family, but not the first names. But we appreciate everyone listening to the Schwartz and Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. Next Monday will be a best of show. It is Memorial Day. We hope you are safe and that you make good decisions. Do not drink and drive. Do not boat and drive. But if you do suffer injuries because there's someone who does those things, we are just one call away, 601 or 662-988-8888. Hope you have a safe and healthy week, and thanks for listening.